My boyfriend, 25 male, cheated on me while I was 3 months pregnant. Now for some context, we haven't been together very long. We had started dating around August 20th and I got pregnant the first time we had sex. I was super drunk when it happened, so I had bought Plan B the next day, but it was too late. For those who don't know this, Plan B only works if you haven't ovulated. And not that this is an excuse, but I was in a relationship for years before him and never used protection, never got pregnant. I thought I was unable to have kids. And furthermore, while I was very intoxicated during our first sexual encounter, he was not. For some background info, I was warned by my sister to stay away from him. We both worked at a bar and he was a regular. I had finally left my 4-year relationship due to ongoing abuse and he made me feel better. For the purposes of this story, we will call him Adam, not his real name. Adam had always bugged me to go out with him, to have a drink with him, and a few times I did, but nothing came of it. As time went on, my sister seen how he couldn't leave me alone and she warned me to stay away from him. She told me he was always in our bar with a different woman before I started working there, and at the time, he was also messing around with her best friend or roommate, who has been a family friend since I was 3 years old. A few months had gone by, and I was finally feeling better about leaving my ex, and I had also become the main server or bartender as my sister had quit. I worked 7 days a week for this entire time until we finally hired a new girl. So I went from working 7 days to 5 days, sometimes 6 if she was unable. Because of this, I saw him more and more. Eventually, I began to think he was cute, despite all the things I've been told about him. He pushed going on a date, and after a few weeks of being pestered every day, I finally said yes. But only if he was no longer seeing my sister's best friend. He said she was crazy and he cut her off. In his defense, I've known her long enough to know the crazy part was true. We went on a few dates and he began talking about how much he liked me. We began spending a lot more time with each other over the next few weeks. He even met my mom and she had a good first impression of him. My sister told me her best friend said she got the clap from him and I brushed it off. About a week after this, we had sex. I had gone out drinking after my shift and stayed until the bar closes down. Needless to say, I was way too drunk. 2 men I know well also realized this and offered to walk me to his house, and he lived a few blocks away and I obviously couldn't drive, and knowing me, I would have ran into traffic law. They made sure he got me inside safely and we went straight to his bed because I could barely stand. He had asked me a few days earlier when I stayed at his house if I wanted to have sex, but I am usually quite conservative in that particular department and expressed to him that I wasn't ready. I appreciated at the time that he respected that. This night, I told him I wanted to, but I had reservations about doing the deed so quick while we weren't even officially a couple. He said not to worry, and the next thing I know we were naked. Oh, and literally right after he asked me to be his girlfriend, lol. I later felt upset about how we had sex and how I became his girlfriend but had kept it to myself, and I continued on working, drinking and seeing him. About a month later, I had stayed up until I am absolutely wasted with my friends and my sister. I expressed to them how I haven't had my period, which wasn't unusual. I've always been a regular, but I just felt different within the last few days. I couldn't explain it. I had no symptoms of pregnancy, but in my soul I knew something was up. Later that day, I had taken a test and boom, pregnant. I told him the very next day. He freaked out. He wanted to run. I told him I would not force him to be a father if he wasn't ready or he didn't want this, but I was keeping the baby. I am not against abortion, it just wasn't the right choice for me. A week after this, he told me he wasn't going to run or be a piece of shit. 2 months goes by and I was about to be 3 months pregnant and things were going okay between us. I had noticed he lied about things, but I never brought it up to him as I should have. On his birthday, he also accused me of cheating when he got super drunk. The next day, he apologized for accusing me and things mostly went back to normal. A few weeks later, out of nowhere, he had become super mean to me. His texts were rude, insensitive, and straight up mean. I felt like something was up. About 2 weeks after this, 2 good friends of mine since high school group called me. They had spoken about the topic of conversation before bringing me in to figure out how to tell me. Basically, they told me he cheated on me. For context, the friend who found out has a sister who has been dating a close friend of Adam's for the last 5 years. Adam had sent a video to his group chat on Snapchat explaining how he has officially started cheating on his baby mama me and how he didn't even want to raise a kid yet. The sister saw the video as her boyfriend tried to hide it, told her sister my friend, and my friend told me. I didn't cry or break down. I simply laughed. I knew it. I took it surprisingly well considering how hormonal I am. Don't get me wrong, it hurt, but it made sense. It was nice to finally make sense of why he had become so rotten towards me, so fast. It did suck realizing that I have been cheated on in every single relationship I have ever been in, and it did suck knowing that being pregnant, that growing someone's child is not enough for a man to be loyal. Not all men, but most. That thought hurt, but I was honestly sort of thankful. After my last relationship, I decided I would never put up with abuse or cheaters again. I confronted him right a few hours later and broke it off. Since then, he's been a mix of super awful towards me, threatening things like I'll make sure you never see this kid again or I am taking full custody, etc. And then he switches to saying super weird things like you're so hot, I miss you, I got you a Christmas present, and so on. I screenshot and file all his messages and evidence for court, as he has stated he wants to take me to court after telling me he knows I will be the better parent. And this has all happened in the span of a month. I am 18 weeks now, which is about 4.5 months pregnant. I am not afraid to be a single mom, although it isn't ideal. I never planned to be pregnant young, but I have a village behind me and I am super excited to have my baby. I have always loved kids and been really good with them. I worked with kids for 5 years before going into the bar industry. I know I am going to be a good mom and I love my child more than life itself already. I can't wait to have my mini-me and raise them to be kind, loving, safe, and have boundaries. To not put up with anything from anyone, especially someone who doesn't treat them right. I cheated on my husband with a married man, which resulted in the breakup of both our marriage. Well, long story short, I was in a horrible marriage with my alcoholic husband. He was hanging out with swingers and got a drunken blowjob while he was stationed in Korea. I was back home in America. At some point he said things to me that broke my heart into pieces, so I went alone to prove to myself I am worthy of appreciation from a man. Found a man and he was married and in a failing marriage. They had not had sex in 2 years and were sleeping in different beds. I just wanted a male friend to appreciate me, but we ended up falling in love. Of course we carried on with the affair, and of course, spouse got suspicious and had a falling out, and it contributed to the breakup of the marriage. I fell completely out of love with my husband before even started the affair. Once I met a new man, there was no turning back. Of course we carried on with the affair, and of course, spouse got suspicious and had a falling out, and it contributed to the breakup of the marriage. I fell completely out of love with my husband before even started the affair. Once I met a new man, there was no turning back. It is about to be 3 years that we've been together, and he has been one of the best thing that has happened in my life. We are soulmates, best friends. I can't tell anyone this story, but I had to confess. He 59 male texted 10 girls, so I'm 24 female. Looked on his deleted texts, and in one day, he texted 8 or 10 women he knows, bartenders, bar patrons, strippers, past ex, various New Year's greetings, and or synopsis for missing them or getting turned on by them in the past. They're pretty or losing weight recently as late as in an hour. I found these on Thursday night from the same day, but to were from earlier in the week. To make 10 whole different women he knows. We had been in an argument earlier on Wednesday day because of some shit conversation I started. Being insecure. I have caught him lying, and at strip clubs 3 times. Plus lying at a party where he but dialed me, and I heard him flirting with some girls. Accusing him of lying or generally being paranoid is regular at this point, so I understand it's my fault. I began to check his phone. 2 or 3 of the texts were sexual. Some he texted are strippers, and I met him working at a strip club. Like they say, you lose them how you get them. To be clear, after the first time I caught him at the strip club, I did flirt with some guy at a bar in front of him, and then another time when I had been expressing I was unhappy, so he is not the only problem here. And just sad. I've been with this man for a year and a few months, and it's definitely always been a codependent relationship. I feel used and stupid. This tension is created mostly by me holding on to, bringing up, all the lying that has happened in the past. I've just been dragging us through the mud for a long time. We were due to leave for a trip the next morning after confrontation about the 10 women. I was going to drive solo, but chickened out, so he came with me still. We are currently here and leaving in the morning. He's still trying to be affectionate with me, etc., but I keep talking about the text knowing it's a dead-end conversation. I really want to be separate when we return. I will not be able to let this go and have a healthy relationship.